June 20th, 1942. A black Steyr 220 convertible idles at the main gate of Auschwitz, history's most efficient death factory. The engine hums with the precision of German engineering, its polished chrome reflecting a sun that hasn't felt warm in years. This is the Commandant's personal car. The wooden barrier is down, a heavy beam of oak and barbed wire blocking the only path to the outside world. An SS guard, boots clicking against the gravel, approaches the driver's window. His hand drifts towards his holster. He sees a high-ranking officer in the passenger seat, silver death's head insignia glinting on his collar. Here is what the guard doesn't see. The officer in that seat weighs 40 kilos less than a healthy man. His uniform is hanging loose over a ribcage sharpened by 2 years of starvation. Hidden in the back seat, tucked against a prisoner's trembling leg, lies a secret document so explosive it could lose Germany the entire war. In the next 10 seconds, that starving man will do something so audacious, so mathematically insane, the guard won't just open the gate, he'll snap to attention and salute him. 4 men are about to drive out the front door of the deadliest place on earth in the Commandant's own car, wearing his uniforms, carrying his guns. People think Auschwitz was an inescapable fortress of steel and shadows, but the truth is, the most brutal system in history had one fatal flaw. It couldn't see past its own arrogance. This is the story of how 4 prisoners used that arrogance to stage the greatest heist in human history. And the most insane part, it all started 19 days earlier with 5 whispered words from a man on the death list. How did 4 subhumans fool the entire SS? And what was the terrifying price the camp extracted for their freedom?
Auschwitz operates on a single binary principle. No one leaves alive. By 1942, the camp's perimeter is a masterpiece of nightmare engineering. It bristles with electrified fences carrying 6,000 volts of lethal current. Watchtowers mount MG-34 machine guns with overlapping fields of fire, ensuring there isn't a single square inch of ground that can't be churned into a graveyard in seconds. Searchlights sweep the mud every night, hunting for shadows. In the camp's first 18 months, attempted escapes numbered in the dozens. Successful escapes, single digits. Most ended as birds on the wire, charred corpses dangling from the electric fence as a warning to the living. If you wear the striped pajamas here, you learn one rule before you learn how to find bread. Survival means invisibility. You don't plot, you don't hope, you endure each brutal hour until the light goes out. On a gray morning in early June, Kazimierz Piechowski, prisoner number 918, is hauling concrete blocks across a workyard. He's 22 years old, a former Polish Boy Scout arrested for the crime of existing while the Nazis occupied his home. 2 years inside have carved the meat from his bones and burned the innocence from his eyes. He has watched friends die of typhus. He has seen men beaten to death for the crime of walking too slowly. He expects nothing from tomorrow except a slightly different flavor of suffering. Then a figure falls into step beside him. Eugeniusz Bandera, a Ukrainian mechanic with grease-stained hands and hollow cheeks. The other prisoners call him Gianek. He and Kazak became friends in Block 11, the punishment barracks, a place where men scream through the night and emerge as ghosts, if they emerge at all.
Gianek's voice drops to a frequency only Kazak can hear, a vibration beneath the sound of guards barking orders. "I'm on the death list." The words hit harder than a physical blow. The SS has scheduled Gianek's execution for the following Saturday. Kazak's hands keep moving, hefting concrete, as if his heart isn't trying to hammer its way out of his chest. His face remains a mask of stone. In Auschwitz, the death list is final. It usually means a phenol injection directly into the heart, a method that kills in seconds and saves the Reich the cost of a bullet. There is no appeal. There is no mercy. You simply vanish, your body added to the crematorium's endless smoking workload. But Gianek has something the Nazis haven't accounted for. He is the camp's best mechanic. His work assignment puts him within arm's reach of the motor pool, the garage housing the staff cars, trucks, and most importantly, Commandant Rudolf Hosse's prized Steyr 220 convertible. It's the fastest car in the camp. While the SS sees Gienek as a disposable tool, he has been memorizing the firing order of their engines and the layout of their keys. Now here is where this story diverges from every other escape attempt. Most prisoners tried to flee like prey, cutting fences under cover of darkness, bribing guards, or hiding in outgoing shipments. The SS anticipated all of it. They had refined their countermeasures through months of trial and bloody error. Deputy Commandant Karl Fritsch made the math of escape explicit during every roll call. For every one man who escapes, 10 random prisoners from his block will be starved to death in a dark cell. The math of freedom was always the math of mass murder.
But Gienek's plan doesn't involve sneaking out like a hunted animal. He doesn't want to crawl through the mud. He wants to drive out the front gate, wearing an SS uniform, saluting the guards as they pass. He realizes that if you're going to fool the most brutal regime in human history, you don't hide from them, you become them. Kazimierz has his own secret advantage. His work assignment rotates through the Canada warehouses, the storage areas where the SS keeps confiscated uniforms, weapons, and equipment. He knows where the Lugers are stored. He knows which tunics would fit their malnourished frames. 4 uniforms, 4 pistols, 4 men pretending to be the master race. The pieces click together with terrifying clarity. But they need 2 more conspirators. Recruiting the wrong person means the standing cell and a firing squad, not just for them, but everyone they've ever spoken to. In Auschwitz, trust is the most dangerous currency on earth. The first recruit finds them. Stanislaw Jaster, 19 years old, another Polish scout. Jaster speaks fluent German, a skill he's concealed for months, knowing that to be useful to the SS is often a death sentence of its own. But he carries a secret far more valuable than language. Hidden in his barracks, wrapped in oilcloth, lies a 40-page report compiled by Witold Pilecki. Pilecki was a resistance officer who did the unthinkable. He volunteered to be captured and sent to Auschwitz specifically to document its horrors. His report contains the first comprehensive eyewitness account of the gas chambers and the industrial-scale extermination program. If Jaster escapes, he can deliver Pilecki's testimony to the Polish underground, and from there to London. The world will finally know that Auschwitz isn't a prison, it's an oven.
The 4th man is Josef Lempart, a Catholic priest in his 50s. Father Lempart has spent months administering last rites to dying inmates in the mud. His gentle demeanor masks a fury that prayer alone cannot contain. When Kazimierz outlines the plan, Lempart doesn't ask about the risk. He simply crosses himself and agrees. It's June 1942, and 4 prisoners have exactly 11 days to prepare the most audacious stunt the world has ever seen. They choose June 20th, a Saturday. Saturday is the soft day. Work details end at noon, and the guards grow lax as they prepare for the weekend. Guard rotations thin out. The motor pool sits nearly empty while the mechanics eat lunch. The warehouses stand unattended. Their window of chaos will last exactly 15 minutes. If they aren't through the final gate by 12:15 p.m., they are dead men. Each man draws a specific assignment. Gienek, the mechanic, waits for his supervisor to turn his back. He presses the motor pool master key into a bar of stolen soap, leaving a perfect impression. That night, by the dim light of the barracks, he files a duplicate from a piece of scrap metal. He tests it twice. It works. Kazimierz, working the warehouse detail, spends a week loosening the bolt on a cellar trap door. He creates an invisible entry point into the room where the SS uniforms are kept. Jaster memorizes German military phrases and practices the SS Steyr, that look of bored, murderous entitlement. They establish a grim pact. If capture is certain, they will take their own lives. The SS torture methods can break anyone, and broken men give up names.
The plan is a clockwork nightmare. At 11:30 a.m., the 4 men abandon their work details at staggered intervals. They converge at an unfinished barracks on the camp's eastern edge, the air smelling of sawdust and fear. They load a wooden garbage cart with kitchen waste and coal scraps, the perfect disguise for prisoners on cleanup duty. They have to bluff past the inner gate first.
the one separating the prisoner compound from the administrative zone. As they approach, the smell of the cart hits the guard, rotting cabbage and human waste. He wrinkles his nose in disgust. This is the first test. For 3 seconds that feel like 3 centuries, the guard's hand hovers over his clipboard. He considers checking their work assignment. Then he waves them through. He doesn't want to deal with the stench. The invisibility of the oppressed works in their favor. They are just 4 more pieces of human trash moving through the machine. They ditch the cart behind the warehouse. Kazakh leads them to the sabotage trapdoor. The bolt slides free with a soft scrape of metal. One by one, they drop into the cool darkness of the cellar and climb the ladder to the first floor. The warehouse is silent. Upstairs, a locked door bars access to the officer's stores. Jaster throws his shoulder against it. The old wood groans. A second hit, nothing. On the third impact, the frame splinters. They are in.
Rows of SS uniforms hang on metal racks, arranged by size. Shelves are stacked with Luger P08 pistols in stiff leather holsters. Mauser rifles stand in wooden racks like silent sentinels. For a moment, the 4 men stand frozen, overwhelmed by the sheer abundance of enemy equipment. Then, survival kicks in. They strip off their lice-ridden prisoner stripes and pull on the wool of their tormentors. The fabric feels impossibly heavy, impossibly clean. Kazakh buckles the tunic of an Untersturmführer, a second lieutenant. Jaster and Lempart dress as enlisted men. The transformation takes less than 4 minutes. Kazakh catches his reflection in a cracked mirror. A Nazi officer stares back, hollow-eyed, cheekbones sharp enough to cut, but dressed in the uniform of absolute authority. The disguise doesn't just change his clothes, it changes the physics of the room. This uniform is armor. It is a license to exist in spaces where prisoners vanish. He holsters a loaded Luger. He's checked it twice. Outside, a Steyr 220 engine coughs to life. Gianek has reached the motor pool. Using his duplicate key, he slips into the garage while the mechanics are at lunch. The Commandant's car sits gleaming in the shadows, black paint polished to a mirror finish. Gianek guides the car around to the warehouse loading area, keeping his speed moderate. 3 SS men emerge from the building and climb into the convertible. Kazakh takes the front passenger seat, the commander's position. Gianek is at the wheel. Jaster and Lempart settle into the back, rifles across their laps. Piletti's report is tucked inside Jaster's tunic, vibrating against his heart.
Gianek floors it. The Steyr surges forward with a growl of German horsepower. As they follow the internal road toward the main gate, an SS private spots the car and snaps to attention. His arm shoots up in a rigid salute. Kazakh returns a cold, bored nod without slowing down. He uses the same contemptuous mask he's watched officers wear for 2 years. The private doesn't see the skeletal faces or the desperate eyes. He sees the car. He sees the rank. He sees the system. More guards salute. Each one is a gamble. Each one could notice the ill-fitting tunics or the nervous sweat. But they don't, because in a system built on mindless obedience, you don't question the man in the fast car. And then they see it. The main gate, the final barrier. A wooden beam topped with coils of barbed wire. An SS sergeant stands guard, his hand resting on his pistol. Beyond him lies the open road, the Polish countryside, and the forests where men can disappear. The car slows. The barrier stays down. The sergeant watches the Steyr approach. His instincts, honed by months of catching deviants, begin to prickle. No one told him about an officer's departure this afternoon. His duty roster is blank. He steps into the road, one hand shading his eyes, trying to peer through the glare of the windshield. Inside the car, silence descends like a guillotine. 80 meters. The barrier is down. 60 meters. Kazakh's heart is slamming against his ribs so hard he thinks the guard might hear it. 30 meters. The sergeant is frowning now. He's looking for papers. He's looking for the authorization stamp they don't have.
The car stops 3 meters from the beam. The engine idles, a low, predatory purr. The sergeant starts toward the driver's window, his boots crunching on the gravel with agonizing slowness. They have no papers. They have no forged stamps.
If the sergeant asks for credentials, they have two choices: open fire and die in a hail of machine gun fire from the towers, or surrender and be tortured for weeks. From the back seat, Father Lempart's voice is a ghost of a whisper. Do something. German words explode from the passenger window like artillery fire. Kazak hurls himself half out of the car, his face twisted into a mask of manufactured psychotic fury. He jabs his finger toward the sergeant and screams with every ounce of rage he's accumulated over 730 days of degradation. He uses the guttural, entitled bark of a man who executes subordinates for minor infractions. "Wake up, you idiot! Open the gate or I'll have your head!" The sergeant stumbles backward as if physically struck. His posture collapses. His suspicion evaporates. No prisoner would dare speak to an SS man this way. No prisoner would know the specific, arrogant vocabulary of the officer class. In the Nazi hierarchy, when a superior screams, you don't ask for papers. You obey. Survival instinct overcomes protocol. The sergeant lunges for the lever. The barrier rises. Gienic doesn't wait for it to clear the roof. He slams the accelerator to the floor. The Steyr rockets forward, ducking under the wooden beam with centimeters to spare. For one frozen instant, Kazak locks eyes with the sergeant. He sees the man's face cycle from terror to confusion and finally, to pure, soul-shattering horror as he realizes what he's just done. Then the gate is behind them. The wire is behind them. Auschwitz is a memory in the rearview mirror.
They are out, outside the reach of electrified fences and phenol injections. Gienic is driving the Commandant's car through the Commandant's gate on the exact second anniversary of his arrival at the camp. June 20, 1940 to June 20, 1942. 730 days of hell ended in 15 minutes of sheer audacity. Behind them, a siren begins to wail, a frantic, high-pitched scream that grows fainter with every kilometer. The escape has caught the SS completely off guard. They need precious minutes to scramble cars and set up roadblocks, and by then, the Steyr is already vanishing into the tree line. Gienic veers onto a dirt logging track at the first opportunity. They drive for 2 hours, twisting through back routes, changing direction whenever they see a dust cloud on the horizon. The tension in the car finally breaks. Yaster lets out a whoop of disbelieving joy. Gienic laughs, a real human laugh for the first time in years. They reach the outskirts of Wadowice, 80 kilometers away. The fuel gauge is hovering near empty. Gienic pulls into a dense thicket, and they spend 10 minutes wiping down every inch of the car for fingerprints. It's a ghost car now. In the dappled evening light, 4 men set off on foot into the woods. They are exhausted, terrified, and more alive than any human beings on the planet. Kazak presses his forehead to the cool, damp earth and weeps. For the first time in 2 years, the future contains something other than a chimney.
In the days that followed, the 4 men separated to increase their odds of survival. Father Lempart found shelter with a sympathetic priest. Jaster made it to Warsaw, carrying Pilecki's report against his chest like a holy relic. That document reached the Polish underground, then London, becoming the first detailed account of the industrialized slaughter to land on Allied desks. They finally knew. Kazak and Gienic headed east to join the partisan fighters, spending the rest of the war with rifles in their hands. Not one of the 4 was ever recaptured. Back at Auschwitz, Commandant Rudolf Höss erupted in a humiliated fury. His own car, his own uniforms, his own weapons. 4 subhumans had outmaneuvered the master race while his own guards saluted them out the door. The reprisals were savage. Jaster's parents were arrested and sent to Auschwitz, where they perished in the very machinery their son had escaped. Weeks later, Höss ordered a new policy. Every prisoner would be tattooed with a permanent identification number on their forearm. Never again would a uniform change be enough to grant a man a new identity. The mark of Auschwitz would be seared into the skin forever. Auschwitz continued to operate until Soviet liberation in 1945. More than 1.1 million people died within its fences. The escape of June 20th didn't change the final horrific arithmetic of the Holocaust, 4 men out of 1 million. But it proved something the Nazis desperately wanted to suppress. Their machinery of death was not invincible. 4 starving men, armed with nothing but a soap mold key and the courage to scream at a man with a gun, proved that even in absolute darkness, the impossible remains possible. Kazimierz Piechowski lived until 2017, passing away at the age of 98 in Ganskowsk. He spent his final decades testifying, visiting schools, and ensuring that history remembered what 4 ordinary men could accomplish when they refused to be invisible. His story shares a strange kinship with another impossible escape, one that happened inside a high-security Japanese prison involving nothing but a bowl of miso soup. If you think the Auschwitz escape was daring, you need to see how one man used lunch to break through solid steel. That story is waiting for you in our video on Yoshie Shiratori.